Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Attorney of the Arcane. I'm Wisemimir, and last episode we were talking to Miriam Frega, who had to keep everything under wraps or everyone would have left prematurely, if I can read correctly today. And where would that leave us? But Jane supposedly overheard Bellwether talking about constructs. Did Bellwether prematurely reveal the plan, or was Jan lying about how we found out? But alas, with Bellwether gone, we'll have to delay our plans. Bellwether's plan has been updated in your notes. Alright. Hopefully this sounds good when it's fully done. Right. So, we heard that Arya took your rapier as evidence for the case. Can you believe her? She still won't give it back to me. My father will have her head if I can't get it back soon. And how did it become part of the investigation anyways? I don't know. Arya won't tell me anything. I swear if that necromancer was the one who stole it, I'll execute him myself. So someone did steal it from you. Yes, right out from right out of my room. When did this happen? About a few weeks ago. I noticed when I came back from one of my classes. Someone removed the rapier from its display case in my room. How did they get into your room in the first place? Do you think someone used magic to teleport past the door? Please, I am a master of conjuration magic. If someone attempted that, my enchantments would have shunted them out. This means the thief came through one of the doors or windows. I bet it was that necromancer. I'm sure a street child like him knows just how to pick a lock. Okay, let's ask about her grades. I've heard that you're one of the Academy's top students. Your grades must be amazing. Of course, as the inheritor of House Frega, my grades are impeccable. It feels good to have my greatness recognized. That's strange, you don't see anything contradictory for the eye this time. You make a gesture towards Celeste to continue pressing her. What kind of magic do you study here? You must be joking. I study magic from the School of Conjuration. Just like most members of my house. The School of Conjuration? That's the type of magic that specializes in spatial manipulation and teleportation, right? Yes, I consider myself an expert in that field. Why, the Crown Prince himself has asked me for my assistance in a research study. It's nice to work with someone of my caliber. Again, you don't see any thoughts that contradict what she's saying. Does that mean she's not lying? If she's smart enough to get the Crown Prince's attention, why would she be cheating? What do you think about this, Miriam? Uh, I'm terribly sorry. I don't have much to say about that. Dang. You said something about my wayward wet relative before. Tongue twisters. A hell of a lot of them. Were you talking about Arya? Oh, I'm terribly sorry if I offended you. But I'm sure it must pain you to see the way she's been acting lately. Yes, it's been extremely hard. Hang in there, Celeste. Did you know she even interrogated me about the murder yesterday? Can you believe it? A steel wind. Running around the crime scene like a common knight. Why, if I tried something like that, my father would disown me. Does the nobility not approve of Steelwind becoming a prosecutor? You always thought that is strange. What is motivating her to do this? Honestly, she probably thinks she can do anything because of her betrothed. Astra deserves better. Celeste's eyes perk up upon hearing this. You'd be lying if you weren't also curious about who this Astra is. But you shoot her a stern look that tells her to stay focused. You can't risk blowing your cover for some gossip. Damn. Arcane Construct. You have an arcane construct in your room. I thought they only had them in the library and the locker room. This construct was a gift from House von Sanctus. I have to say they're quite convenient to have around. They look cool. Maybe I should get one. You should. A construct would be far more useful than this attendant of yours. Unfortunately, there are still some issues with their intelligence. There are issues when you give them complex commands. It might be easier to show you. Miriam turns to the construct and begins gesturing to it. Construct, please retrieve my textbooks and bring them here. Then cast Steel Wind Strike at this location. After that, retrieve some plates and set them out at this table. Acknowledged. What? The construct stands up, retrieves Miriam's textbooks from one of the shelves in the room. It brings them to the table you're sitting at, just like she ordered. But then it suddenly stops moving. Wait, what happened? The construct obviously can't cast Steel Wind Strike, so my second command was impossible to carry out. But did you notice something else? It ignored your third command too. Correct, my third command was possible to carry out. So why did it ignore that command? Constructs execute a series of commands in the order they are given. But let's say one of those tasks is impossible to complete. When the construct gets to that task, it will deem the entire series impossible to complete. As a result, it will stop executing the series altogether. So if a task in a series of commands is impossible, then that command will interrupt the sequence of commands. Exactly. construct's logic limitation has been added to your notes. Lady Steelwind, I'm afraid we must leave now if we want to make our next engagement. Oh, right. Let's go, servant. Oh, leaving already? It was a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, sure. I hope to see you around. You make your way back to the foyer with Celeste. With all the time you've spent, you only have a brief amount of time before night falls. Are you sure you didn't want to talk to her more? We were getting a lot out of her. We already got a lot of useful information out of her. The more time we spend with her, the more likely she is to see through our ruse. Right. So, why Steelwind? I don't know, I panicked. Arya is like the only noble I know. What about Pierce? I'm not using that creep's name. Well, hopefully Steelwind doesn't mind us borrowing her name. And we got her statement on what she saw that day. And there's also what she said about her rapier. I bet she was lying when she said it was stolen. She was probably trying to establish an alibi. I'm not so sure. Why do you say that? Doesn't it feel too obvious? If she was lying about the rapier being stolen, that would imply that she planned all this in advance. She probably did plan all this in advance. She's probably the killer. But if she had to choose a murder weapon, why would she choose something that literally has her name on it? I'd understand if the murder was a spur-of-the-moment decision. She might have just used something nearby in this case. But if this was a premeditated murder committed by Miriam, that rapier would be the last weapon she would choose. Right, I guess that makes sense. There's also the evidence of academic dishonesty. It doesn't match up with what we heard from Miriam. You mean all that stuff about working with the Crowned Prince? She was probably just making things up to look good in front of me. I have an insight when it comes to things like this. Under normal circumstances, I can usually tell when someone's lying. And a lie as grandiose as that would be something I would definitely see through. People can subconsciously shield themselves from the Eye of Horus even if they don't know it. But when they do that, you usually can't see any thoughts from them. You also saw that she was lying about her encounter with Bellwether. You would have seen dissonant thoughts if she was lying about her grades. Well, I guess I'll trust your insight. But what does it mean? I don't know. Even with everything we've found out, I'm not sure who the real culprit is. At the very least, we should still try to pull Miriam onto the stand. If she testifies in court, I might be able to find something I can use. That's a big maybe. If you don't play your cards right, you might spook the Fregas enough for them to pay off the judge. Either way, it's getting late. will probably have to turn in soon. Yeah. You just hope you did enough to acquit Wallace. Would you like to save your progress? I would indeed. Keeping one save file might screw me over. Court is now resumed for the trial of Wallace Nightgrave. Let us proceed. Let us review the proceedings from yesterday. It was revealed that the trace of necromancy may not have been left by the defendant. It may have been left by a witness who used necromancy to attempt to heal the victim. However, the victim was seen by witnesses well after her time of death. This could only be explained by the defendant using necromancy to animate the victim's body. This leaves the question, where did the murder take place? Does the prosecution have an answer for this? Based on the testimonies of several witnesses, it is very likely that the murder took place in the library. Interesting. What led you to this conclusion, Steelwind? First, I'd like to remind the court where the victim was sighted before the body was found. It began when the victim had a meeting with the headmaster near the center of the building. Our meeting was scheduled for 12 p.m., according to my schedule for the day. Our meeting lasted for an hour. That brings us to the statement of the next witness, a student at the academy. The student saw the victim walking in the hallways. I saw her coming out of the headmaster's office. She was heading towards the library. Which means that our first witness saw Bellwether leave the headmaster's office. Presumably this would have happened after her meeting there. That would time this encounter at around 1 p.m. The other event is the discovery of the body, which was when Valentina Yanis contacted security. Right. As we've already established, this event occurred at 3:04 p.m. But the significance of this time is in what occurred before the body was discovered. The second witness, a member of the cleaning staff, spotted the victim in the West Wing hallway. Bellwether knocked over a vase, and there were shards and dirt everywhere. It was probably 20 to 30 minutes before the twins found the body. This means that this encounter must have happened no later than 2:30. This implies that the victim was near the library between 1 p.m. and 2:30. According to the defendant's statements, he was in the library during this time period. Furthermore, the time of death was 2:07 p.m. This means that Mr. Hughes saw the victim's animated body. Steelwind's deduction has been added to your notes. I have a feeling we'll need that. I see. Your deduction certainly tracks, Miss Steelwind. What do you have to say in your defense, Mr. Cuthbert? The prosecution's argument is definitely well thought out, Your Honor. However, it is entirely predicated on the testimonies of all the witnesses involved. Steelwind's deduction has to have a hole somewhere. And since your conversation yesterday, you've had a feeling that Miriam is hiding something. If you want to get the truth, you'll need to drag that out of her through cross-examination. Your Honor, to testify these claims, the defense would like both of the witnesses to testify. The defense calls Miriam Frega to the stand. Frega? At the mention of her name, the judge's face turns a bit pale. I had a feeling it would come to this. Do you have any objections, Miss Steelwind? I do not, Your Honor. Very well. Bailiff, please escort Lady Frega to the stand. I keep tripping over that name. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the... You little snakes. How dare you deceive me? It looks like she found out. I had the opportunity to debrief the witness beforehand. Miss McCoy, for the record, I told you to exercise discretion. I did not mean that you should impersonate a member of my family. Yeah, sorry about that. I gave you all of the tea that I imported from the Eastern Kingdoms. I demand that you return it to me. No, you gave them to me and they're legally mine now. This murder trial has turned into a property dispute. I'm not sure what your business with the witness is, Miss McCoy. But I'd ask that you please handle your personal disputes outside of the courtroom. She's gonna be thrown out, isn't she? Anyways, Miriam, could you please testify to the court about your encounter with the victim? Very well. I was working on a research project in my dorm room when I decided to take a break. I left my room and went on a walk. That's when I saw Professor Bellwether exiting the headmaster's office. She was walking in my direction, so I greeted her and she responded in kind. After that, she headed towards the library. A short time after that, I went back to my room and continued my work. I see. So it was only a brief encounter. However brief it was, the witness's testimony verifies two things. One is that Miss Frega saw the professor exiting the headmaster's office. The other is that she witnessed the victim head toward the library. This gives us a rough timeline of where the victim was before her death. That does seem consistent. Did Bellwether really enter the library that day? You feel like you would have seen her there if she did. Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. the game is giving us hints about where to press, apparently. So, did you see her enter the library? I didn't, but there's not much else in that direction. From the testimony of Jane Hughes, we know that she later came from the library. Even if she didn't enter the library, she was still in that area for more than an hour. Okay, so pressing there did nothing for me. Was this research project a part of your schoolwork? It was an independent study to develop a new conjuration spell formula. The project is being sponsored by the Crown Prince himself. I wasn't aware that he was involved in such a study. Of course you wouldn't. Did you expect to know every aspect of his life, dear Aria? You sense a bit of aggression. A bit? If you don't keep an eye on him, House Frega might just steal him from you. As if His Highness would align himself with your rapacious family. Our banking houses form the economic infrastructure of our kingdom. But perhaps he'll come to the Steel Winds if he needs to clear a den of goblins. With all due respect, may we please focus on the matter at hand? Yes, please. Thank you. Of course, Your Honor. Okay, so she left her room and went on a walk. Are you sure that you saw her exit the headmaster's office? Yes, I remember it clearly. I was surprised that she was still meeting with the headmaster at all. She must be talking about how they were plotting to replace him. Did you interact with the professor at all, Miriam? Okay, and that leads into this. Did anything seem off about her? No, but it was a very short encounter. It's not as if we stopped to have a conversation. You said that you greeted her and she responded. What words did she use? Well, why is that important? Miss Frega, it's possible that someone used illusion magic that day. Every detail about the victim's interactions could be important. Well, I bid her good morning, and she said good morning in response. After that, she headed towards the library. So I have pressed almost everything here. Yeah. Oh. That's new. Are you and you're certain that nothing seemed off about her? Yes, like I said, it was a very short encounter. Why did she say that? It only happened over a few seconds. The witnesses' interactions are not what's important here. What matters is that she witnessed where the victim was coming from and where she went afterwards. I have a feeling this was about the academic dishonesty. But I can't actually do anything about that. So, how long did you leave your dorm room? And we are running out of time. Uh, yeah, I think we have enough time for just this. How long did you leave your dorm room? Only a few minutes. I try not to let my breaks go for too long. And you didn't see the professor again after your first encounter? No, I didn't. Her testimony seems pretty straightforward. And now, next time on Let's Play Attorney of the Arcane, I will continue breaking my way through Miriam Frega's testimony, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this. If you liked this video, leave me a like, a comment, or a subscribe. It really helps. See you next time.